It's Messi! It is the cleanest of clean finishes from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
Welcome to it. This is ZiFM Sport on a Thursday, Throwback Thursday, the lockdown edition. Yes, we're still in lockdown. I know that restrictions are beginning to ease a little bit, but we still have to be careful. My name is Sean Tafrenika. This is the show that's short, sharp, and sweet as we take you closer to your sports stars. And today, boy, don't we have a mega star for you. Some people are touting him as one of the most talented rugby players that is currently playing the game. I'll give you some clues. He plays for the All Blacks. His teammates call him Lini. Yes. And he plays as a center. Sometimes he can also play as an outside center, as a versatile player. So have a guess as to who it is?
Hi, I'm JC Krill, Springbok and Blue Bulls backline player. You are listening to ZiFM Sports.
So the feature tonight is on All Blacks midfielder Anton Lienert-Brown. I call him a midfielder because he can play outside centre, he can play inside centre, he can also take a stab at fullback, and I'm sure he can put the wheels on to even give it a run on the wing. But no doubt he's a cracking player, and he was in conversation with broadcasters Jay Reeve and Rob Dunny as they talked about his career. He grew up in Christchurch before making the move to the north of New Zealand to play for the Waikato Chiefs. So he'll talk about his highs and some of his lows, but let's kick things off when he talks about signing a long-term deal with New Zealand Rugby up to 2023, only to have rugby be paused momentarily because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, it was actually earlier on in the year, in around January, I put pen to paper, but obviously they announced it at a different time, so actually worked out quite well probably because obviously COVID hit. We don't really know what's going on at the moment with all the competition, so I guess for me it was good timing. I just love playing rugby here in New Zealand, and I guess with the World Cup disappointment last year, that's definitely front of mind. Hopefully I can play some good code over the next 4 years and get another crack at it.
We'll be touching on that later on in the podcast. But training through lockdown, what does that look like? Everyone learned how to make bread, TikTok danced their way through it, and obviously you and the team stayed digitally connected. How did you do that? What did you do? What did training look like during lockdown?
I was lucky enough to move in with a good mate of mine, Damien McKenzie. He had a wee gym set up. I managed to get a watt bike just before lockdown, and every day would go into the gym and pump some guns, jump on the bike, and then put the feet up for the rest of the day. So it worked out really well.
They must have done a roaring trade. Like every single man and their dog picked up a watt bike over there. Obviously, you've got them where you train, but did you get to peel stuff out of the gym, or was this just you had to personally invest?
No, you had to personally invest, and honestly, like trying to find gym equipment online was almost impossible because I guess every Kiwi in New Zealand wanted a home gym, and they're like, this is the perfect opportunity. Those people must have made a killing.
That's exactly why I didn't go out there and buy gym equipment, because I knew that people like yourself in the professional arena were the ones that needed it, and that was my gift.
Thanks
to
for
you.
thinking of us.
Yeah,
you're a good man.
Mate, what did you pumped out some tin in the morning? I saw on social, a few chipping competitions with Jim because you both love your golf. What about when it came to the cooking? Who was running the cutter? Were we rotating? Did you add to your repertoire of feeds and use the opportunity to, get right for date night? Like, what was the go?
Yeah, so it was Damo, myself, and Damo's cousin came down, and she was like an unbelievable cook. Like the things we probably can't cook, but we sort of learnt a little bit off her. And then we'd go like one night each. The weekends would be, I don't know, bacon and eggs on toast, just be nice and simple. But did I add to my repertoire?
It's from bacon and eggs on toast.
I promised myself. Well, I went through lockdown. I was like, I've been reading books, I've been cooking well. obviously you make your own lunch, you do your own breakfast. You know, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for level 1 because, you know, I'm a changed man. Went back to level 1, takeaways every second night, go out for brekkie, you know, just within a week I lost it all. But what did I learn? What did I learn cooking-wise? Did a bit of baking, make a nice chocolate chip cookie now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
that's all right.
Baby steps, eh?
Yep.
Baby steps. Anything else?
Mate, if you had
green curry is my go-to. Green curry.
There it is.
Steak and chips.
This real Gordon Ramsay
Japanese
stuff
curry, wraps. Yeah. Mate, no, I didn't add to my repertoire. I can't lie to you. Yeah. Sorry.
Just finesse what you're already doing.
Yeah. Oh, cook an unbelievable poached egg now.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
The cafe style one, or those nice little rolled ones?
No, the cafe style ones, like they are like perfectly cooked.
What's the secret to that? Have you been watching Nats? Well, what I reckon.
So Damo taught me this, but he boils the pan to really high.
Oh yeah.
So it's boiling, and then, yeah,
for the boiled eggs. Yeah.
That makes sense. You boil the pan so it's boiling, yeah. And then you turn it on low, chuck the eggs in, and then you just let them simmer. So it probably takes them about like 4 or 5 minutes to, I guess, become a really nice poached egg. But I feel as though doing it that way, there's less room for error. Yep. Because you've got it on a high heat. The initial high heat like sort of cooks the egg, then it just simmers. So take it out when it's ready.
I know this is a podcast, so people can't actually see us. We're all on the edge of our seats listening to this. This is great stuff. I really appreciate it. Did that give you a new appreciation of your job? When you're in lockdown and you're figuring out how terrible you are at cooking, how expensive it is to buy your own gym equipment, when you get back to training, when you're able to get back into training, does it give you a whole new appreciation of what is effectively your job being a professional sports person?
Yeah, I guess it certainly did, and it probably gave me a good perspective on life. What if footy was taken away? Well, obviously you wouldn't be locked down, but you sort of got that feeling that there is more to footy than, you know, I guess what we live day by day. So yeah, there was plenty of learnings in amongst it. Just, I guess, little things you got to appreciate. And one thing I probably took out of it the most was, like, I guess, setting some time aside. There we go, for myself, because I actually really enjoyed, I guess, just having my own time and just resting. Like, I'm someone that always has to be doing something, always on the move. So now I sort of consciously try to set aside some time for myself each day, and I guess just refresh the mind.
Because obviously we'll touch on this in depth a little bit later on, but your journey into professional footy was a rapid one, and there were no breaks basically, and you haven't had a chance to, even through injury, haven't really had a chance to pump the brakes. So you, as a teenager till now, in your early mid-20s, did you ever get a chance to sort of develop a hobby other than being a professional? How does ALB chill when he gets a little bit of downtime? You get your Wednesday, instead of hanging out with two of the greatest looking individuals to ever run a podcast, how do you spend your Wednesday?
You guys are good looking men, gotta say.
Thanks, mate. That'll get you a long way.
Yeah, you a long way. Oh, no, sorry.
Walked into that one.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's probably something I had to, I guess, learn over my years. It's the toughest thing about professional footy. Like, I wouldn't say it's the lifestyle, I wouldn't say it's a schedule. Like, we've got it all good, but it's the mental element. It's that you're on your day off, but you're still thinking about, on Saturday I've got to perform. Yeah. On a Sunday after a game, you're thinking, what if I did this better? So it's really, like, it's mental, and it can be really taxing.
How much time do you give yourself after a game just to decompress before you just go, there is nothing I'm going to do now that'll change the outcome of what happened on the weekend? I just need to cut and run forward from here.
Yeah,
do you have a process?
Like,
is that something?
Say, for example, on the weekend, like, we lost, and, you know, we're a much better team than we played. And personally, like, I felt as though I could have played better, and it probably wasn't until Monday where I reset. I like to do some meditation, and I was like, oh well, like, this is a new week, a chance to, I guess, put things right. So it did take a good couple of days to I guess, really clear it from my mind. But after the game, I enjoy a beer or two with my mates. My family were down in Dunners at the time.
Awesome.
So I guess I've just got to consciously put that aside and be like, I haven't seen my family in 2 months. I've got to go spend time with them. In all honesty, I didn't really feel like it because I felt as though like we lost and I could have been better and all that stuff. But
And you've got to see the face across the table from you that bet you.
yeah,
And your
my brother's
brother.
playing Highlanders and he's got a smile on his face and I'm like, stuff you.
You did say earlier on the week that you're going to smash him. I hope that he'd run it straight.
Yeah. He did run it straight actually, but I didn't smash him. So yeah, just all those, I guess, mental challenges come into play, and I'd say like as a professional rugby player or professional sports person or anything like that's where you probably make your money.
Yeah.
It's not the physical aspect. We're lucky we get a gym every day. It's not the schedule we have because it's awesome. Like we get 1 day off a week. Like we train in the morning. We train for a living. You got your best mates around you, but it's more just the mental aspect of the game. You always think you're rugby. You've got an expectation. You have to perform and you've got to be on. You can't turn up on a Tuesday training and be off.
Yeah.
Like you got to turn up for the boys. You've got to be on every day.
Yeah, mate. And it's in this new world, like it's so many things could potentially change. We don't know yet. There's so many unknowns, but to try and look at what could be the positives that come out of it all, to get your opinion as a player, like talking about a global calendar, talking about maybe the July test matches moving to October, talking about playing a little bit more rugby domestically, whether we go to South Africa and Argentina for Super Rugby or not. And while they are often great opposition and probably fun tours, also kind of like we were talking about beforehand off camera, how much sense does it make to play rugby 1 week in South Africa, 1 week in Argentina, and then maybe the next week back in New Zealand? Like surely we need to have a rethink about that from player recovery and cost as well,
Yeah, I think, as you said, like we talked about it off screen, and it's not until you sit back and like you reflect on what travel you're doing that you think how crazy it was.
Yeah.
Like you're literally going around the globe within 3 weeks and you're playing 3 games within like 3 different countries. It's pretty crazy, really. But it was just what we did.
Yeah.
So it's probably not until this point you think, geez, like we're actually doing that, and it is possible. Like as we've done it. Like you can do it, but is it the best thing for us? Did I enjoy traveling to South Africa? In all honesty, like the first time was great, but the second, third, fourth, fifth time, you got a bit over it. Did I enjoy going from South Africa to Argentina, back to New Zealand? Your sleep cycle's out. Same again, in all honesty, probably not.
Yep.
But it's just what we did. But like you said, I think this is a great opportunity for, I guess, SANZAAR, New Zealand, World Rugby to rethink a better structure, better for the players, better for the fans, and something we can move forward with.
Because I think sometimes you just get stuck in a way and you just do it because that's the way you've always done it, and that's it just becomes the routine and how you're always operating. So when something like this and there's a good extended break where you can actually stop down and take stock of what it is that you're doing, and on top of that as well, when you add in that the way that global rugby has changed and the number of people that have been overseas that are now coming back, you go, well, maybe we need to kind of focus a little bit more on what it is that we're doing at home. The Super Rugby Aotearoa comp being like, mate, that's exciting. Like every weekend, last weekend was a classic example of people just getting fizzed up to see these crowds there that they haven't seen at Super Rugby for probably a decade, or at least until the business end of it. It's pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, and in my opinion, New Zealand's screaming out for provincial rugby to be revamped, and I feel as though the All Blacks need to be playing in that comp.
Yep.
And this year is a great opportunity for that. Like the provincial rugbies are screaming out for it.
Imagine if there was just in the middle there a little cheeky north-south game, and who would Anton Lienert-Brown represent? As a bit of a transient rugby player over the years. Like, where would you be putting your allegiances, mate, if there was to be that fixture chucked in there?
Well, I think I know the criteria now, and it's your first provincial
Interesting.
rugby side.
Well, that's niggly for you because you didn't ever play any provincial rugby. You just went straight to Super.
Well, yeah. But then I came back and played provincial. But in all honesty, like my heart would lie in the South Island because I grew up there, and Christchurch Boys is somewhere I'm very Aotearoa as. It's somewhere that like, I'm so proud to have been to that school, and I feel as though like I'm connected to the South Island there. And I also feel that like the South Island's like the little brother. Yeah. I'd love to be in the underdog team and versus the North Island team.
And that's you, that's Jim, that's Damien McKenzie, that's Guzzler,
Brodie Retallick. But funnily enough, the way it's structured, would all be playing in the North Island.
Interesting. Watch the space. And talking about fan engagement, mate. Wind it back. Super footy. Wind it in, mate. Wind it in.
A sight that just a few weeks ago seemed scarcely possible. Eden Park is back in business, a capacity crowd of 43,000, and they are pouring in ahead of this Super Rugby Aotearoa clash between the Blues and the Hurricanes.
Mate, how about that? Like when you talk about, wanting to invigorate the game, well, bit of scarcity, what is it? Quality over quantity, like that all came to roost on over the weekend. Big turnout at your game and Sunday afternoon, 43,000 at Eden Park. You don't get that unless it's the ABs normally.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome to see, and I guess obviously having a break from rugby for so long got the fans excited. Obviously Baz and DC made some excitement around the Blues, so they got the fans in as well. But how good was it to see an Arvo game too? I mean, the sun was shining.
So good, eh?
It was dry, it was fast, it was good quality rugby, and like you said, it was a packed stadium. It's what rugby needs, and it's great to see that the fans really got behind it.
Taking it down to Forsyth Bar, you guys run out. You're basically the flagship for global sport, particularly in the southern hemisphere of, big crowd sport. Everyone else has kind of been parked away. You've got cutouts of fans and grandstands and other codes, and you haven't been in front of a crowd yourselves for the best part of 2 months.
Yeah.
So how did that feel, running back out and onto that platform and playing in front of a very vocal southern crowd?
It was exciting. I was so pumped for the game. I can't remember being that pumped in a long time. And because of COVID and obviously the government rules, like everything was happening so fast. So only a week and a half ago there was no crowds, and then Jacinda announced it's level 1. There can be crowds. So everything happened so fast, and I just got so excited. And to play in front of the zoo, and in between the breaks, they pumped some D&B, some drum and bass, and they're just going off. Like, how cool's that? I love playing under the roof. It's loud in there. It's obviously dry, and I was just, like I said, I was just so excited to get back out there in front of a crowd.
And there's obviously, after a decent rest, the bodies must be in pretty tip-top nick as well, because like you said, this is the part of the season where there's a lot of broken down carcasses, but everyone for the most part is running on all 12 cylinders, and as a result of that, there's some pretty impressive footy.
Yeah, like everyone's fresh. Look, I don't think there's ever been a 2-3 month break for rugby players to not play rugby, not doing contact and just train. Like, it's great for the body. I'm sure long term it's going to help as well. But like you said, everyone's fresh, everyone's fit and are ready to go. And there's 10 rounds of derbies, and I'm sure it's going to be quality footy. And derbies, New Zealand derbies, to me is the closest you'll get to Test match footy. Everyone wants those bragging rights. Everyone goes that little bit harder, and the intensity just goes right up.
You're literally playing your mates, aren't you? Your brother. You're even playing with your brother. That is how close to home it is. So you're always just going to find a little bit extra against the boys, aren't you?
Yeah, you sure are.
How does that split in terms of support? You talked about family being in the crowd. Do you sort of divvy out tickets? Is it a kind of or this is where you really find out who the favourites are? Are there jerseys that are sewn together, made up of both jerseys? What does the situation look like?
Well, it's quite tough. It was tough being on the losing side after the game, because I saw my old man before the game and he was wearing a Chiefs hat, And post the game, he had a Highlanders one on. I was like, wow. Oh, okay. And then he had a puffer jacket on, and it had the Chiefs jersey underneath, but zip right up. Zip right up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and he promises me that he's a Chiefs supporter, but I guess he went with the Winners on Saturday. But Mum's actually got this polo, so Dan gave her a Highlanders polo, I gave her a Chiefs one, and she's cut it in half.
She did.
And she's sewn this polo, it's half Chiefs, half Highlanders, and that's what she wears.
There it is. And mate, like there was obviously, it's a fresh start for the refs, and there's been some new rule interpretations as well. Did you get much of a heads up around what the refs are going to focus on ahead of the game so you could prep, or was it is literally like a lot of games of footy, it's about being able to adapt while you're out there?
Yeah, we spoke a lot about the new rules, I guess before the game, and we had a in-house scenarios game where one of the refs came in and sort of spoke to us about the new rules, and then we got to trial it out against each other. But still on the weekend, like, it was weird. The new rules, and it always takes time to adjust. Yep. I think eventually it's probably going to speed up the game, but for now there's going to be a lot of penalties. It's going to take a while to get used to, and that is frustrating for a player and for a fan, because I think both games had 30 penalties in the weekend, and that makes it a bit stop-start. But once we get 2, 3, 4 rounds into, I guess, Super Rugby Aotearoa, the teams will get used to it, the footy will speed up, and we'll get better quality.
Do you feel like when you're standing on attack that you don't have to stack so deep because you've actually got you feel like you've got an extra couple of metres, and then when you're defending, do you feel like there's a bit of space for these people to run at you? Because the other thing is too, with less people being committed to a ruck, all of a sudden when you look up, you've got 13 players in front of you that you're having to run through, as opposed to dragging forwards in and stacking them up around the ruck, having sort of 5 or 6 of the big boys in there, frees up a bit of space for you. What's it like in the back line now, as opposed to sort of pre these rules coming in?
Yeah, I don't even really think of it like that, to be honest. I just, but you're right, because they're going hard on the offsides. And to be honest, I don't think teams have quite adjusted to taking a step yet. It's going to take a while, and in all honesty, as a player, you want to be right on the edge. You always want to be up as fast as you can. So you want to be testing the ref, whether you're onside or not. But now the touchies are looking at it all the time, and if it's a 50-50 call, they're going to say you're offside. So you've got to take a step, and I guess, as you said, that will give more time for the attack, and also going to more players on feet. I feel as though when the ball's in play, because there's not as many people in the ruck, or it's harder, once you've missed the ball, you can't keep hunting. Yeah. So it actually speeds up play. So when the ball's really quick, those players aren't set, so it actually gives you a better opportunity to attack.
Mate, it was interesting to watch in the first game. Basically back in the world with crowds was a hell of a game.
Now here's the drop kick from McKenzie, and through it goes. Damien McKenzie lands the drop kick, and with just under 3 minutes left, the Chiefs are in front by 2. They're either going to try a drop goal. Mitch Hunt. No, in fact it's Gatland. There you go.
Yeah, obviously, when you hear it like that, how was that when you get back into the sheds and you look at the coach and he was beaten by his son, effectively? Was there any mention of that? Obviously, it's probably still a little bit too raw straight after the game, but just to show how small a nation we are and how close these connections are. The roots that run through New Zealand rugby are just unlike anywhere else in the world, you'd have to say.
In a way, you've got to sit back and sort of chuckle at yourself and think, is there a better tale to tell?
Yeah.
Our coach's son had just kicked the winning drop goal, and I said to Getty after the game, I said, you made a mistake 25 years ago. I said, can we
just needed that one more drink, didn't you? You need to take it to that fancy restaurant.
Can we go back there? Can you not do that? No, I didn't quite say that, but yeah, it was obviously disappointing, and I think I heard I saw something on Instagram about Gaddy saying, I don't care, it was my son, I'm still gutted we lost.
Yeah.
But surely deep down, you've got to have some pride.
Yeah, mate.
Well, didn't Bryn post up the picture of the text from his dad saying, well, there goes your Christmas present this year?
Oh, really? Sounds about right.
Mate, it was like you say, you can't write that script, but for you, obviously feeling in the changing room afterwards, pretty disappointed. You had all that time to prep and on, like you say, the excitement going into the game, knowing it was going to be a massive crowd, kind of literally getting rugby started globally in some ways, and your boys just didn't execute on the day.
Yeah, and the most disappointing thing is that we had a really good week leading up, like one of our best training weeks we had all year. Obviously pre-COVID, and there was a really good feeling going into the game. But maybe one of the biggest lessons we could take from it is that we probably were a bit excited. We're trying to throw those miracle balls. Maybe we're trying to impress in front of the zoo. Maybe ESPN Canada and America got us excited and we're like, I'm going to throw this miracle ball, so LeBron James might be watching and be like, man, that guy's good.
Yeah.
But anyways, like you said, like execution just wasn't there. And full credit to the Highlanders, they played well. Their forward pack really stepped up and they did some nice stuff in the backs, but for us, we just weren't clinical enough, and we're a better team than that. That's the most disappointing thing, is that we can live with losing if we play well, but we were nowhere near our best. So, but it's an easy fix. We just need to be more clinical. It wasn't our systems, it wasn't our structures. Just individually, we need to do a little bit better.
Sammy Kane out, missed it. Looking like he might have a late run this week to get into the fold for the weekend coming up. What did he say as a well, not that he was skipped that game, but he's kind of the senior figurehead that you'll look to in terms of the player. What's he like as a captain, and does he get dark in moments like that?
He didn't say too much about the game, really. He sort of refocused us for this week, and he's someone that leads by actions, and he's great with his words as well. He doesn't say too much, but he always says the right things. But because he wasn't out there, he's not someone that would be like, oh, you guys should have done this better. He just asked us what was the feeling, and I guess we found a solution from how we were feeling. He wasn't like, oh, I thought you needed to do this better or that better. He was more of that positive voice saying, you guys weren't clinical enough, but we're a much better team than that, and we've got the Blues this weekend, and there's no better team to turn that around against.
Speaking of the Blues, they had an absolute blinder, and that was an interesting game in itself when you look at the injection of Beauden Barrett playing against his old team, and by geez, didn't the boys love getting into him, especially seeing Colsey run straight through him to get a try. That was great stuff. I mean, he's a very hard man to stop, and he's very quick. He's deceptively quick, isn't he? And he's a large muscle mass moving at a very low centre of gravity. His legs only make up a quarter of his overall body length, so it's very hard to get them in at a time like that. Apparently, he's offered up his socks in which he ran over the top of Beauden Barrett for auction as well. So if you want to get around that's great stuff. How do you guys frame yourselves up against the Blues team? Because obviously this is a shortened competition. Blues are looking on fire. They've been written off for years. People were saying that it's the difference being made with Desi being brought into the fold, with Beauden in the mixer at the back there. But they were great before the lockdown as well. They were playing incredible code, and across the entire team they're looking sharp. So it's all well and good that you focus on shutting down the likes, or you'll know, because Bodie will be sifting in and amongst that, and you've played outside him so much, you sort of know how he operates. But with a whole team that's got 15 players that can attack from anywhere, where do you start?
Yeah, I think we've got to start with ourselves. Like I said, we need to be more clinical than last week. And I've got full belief in our squad. I've got an outstanding squad, but so do we. And we've just got to trust ourselves that we can go out and do the business. And I think we coughed up the ball, including penalties, nearly about 30 times last week. And you can't win a game that way. And we got close. That's the thing. We had great moments, but this week against the Blues, we've just got to worry about ourselves, make our tackles. We know they're a great outfit, but we've got to have that self-belief in ourselves that we're a great team as well. And if we can half the amount of errors we had last week, I think it's going to be a great match.
How good though? Like how good? We're back into it. We've got crowds. The team that was perhaps struggling a little bit before the break got on the front foot. The Landers got a win. They'll be stoked. The Chiefs were playing really well before the break. You've got the Blues who are on a bit of a resurgence. You know, guys like young Clark was outstanding on the wing. The number 8, Satutu, was outstanding. And then the Crusaders' first game this weekend, like local derbies every week. Like this is going to be phenomenally tight comp. Like it is set up extremely well. It's going to be good to get home, Lenny, in front of your home crowd and give it a wind against the Blues.
Yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, Super Rugby New Zealand derbies are the closest you'll get to test match footy. Yep. So for us, we've got 4 games in a row. It's like 4 test matches in a row. And that's the feeling out there. There's so much hype around it. There's so much intensity. And to see the fans getting behind us is just amazing, and there's no better place for us to play than F&G Stadium Waikato.
There you have it, Anton Lienert-Brown. What a great player. You know, All Blacks fans talk about having him at second centre, playing alongside Ngani Laumape. They say that's a mean midfield for the All Blacks, and no doubt we'll wait to see how this budding talent will make his mark in an All Blacks jersey. The man that they call Lini. I hope that you enjoyed that interview.